What up, YouTube? Today I'm back with another installment of my 101 series, and today we're going to be talking about Contour 101. I want to go ahead and say, just keep in mind that the contouring and highlighting that I do are rather subtle. I don't really feel the need to really sculpt out my face whenever I'm just doing an everyday look when I'm going to work or somewhere casual. Now, if I'm going to an event of some kind, a concert where I want to be extra glammed out, then I will do more contour and kind of sculpt out my face a little bit more dramatically. And so I'm going to just show you my best practices in the way that I contour on a daily basis, kind of starting on the most subtle side and showing you how you can easily bump that up a few notches if you choose. But as you can see, all I have on are moisturizer, foundation, primers, all the things that I would do prior to the step of contouring and highlighting. And before we begin, I just want to give you kind of the basis or the premise behind, the basic premise behind contouring and highlighting. Contouring essentially is to draw back, to sink in, or to sculpt out. It's difficult to describe in words for me. I'm sure there's some terminology that I'm not familiar with, but highlighting is to bring forth. Highlighting is you're going to highlight the things that you want to stand out, and you're going to contour the things that you would like to recede or to pull in. So for example, you're going to contour your cheek or your jawline to give the impression or the illusion that that's more sculpted, slimmer, not so many double chins, and those kind of things. So it's really cool that you can use color to actually really make your face appear to be a little bit different. You can show that maybe you can make it look like you have higher cheekbones or more sculpted out cheekbones, or maybe you can have a more sleek, angular jawline than you really have. So there's a lot of things that you can do with highlighting and contouring. But the way I begin is with my foundation on when I'm getting ready to put on my concealer. When I'm actually doing highlighting and contouring, I would use two different colors of foundation. This is the Tarte Shape Tape, and I have it in light medium and in light. I'm going to use the light medium under my eyes like I ordinarily would, and I'm going to use the light to highlight with. So I'm going to go ahead and put on my my concealer just under my eyes, and then I'll show you the positions and the places that I use the lighter for the contour. And so for using Tarte Shape Tape, which is a very highly pigmented concealer, you really are not going to use very much, but I just want to show you in general where I put the concealer for highlight. So I start off by putting a few dots down my nose. I want the center of my nose to stand out. I'll put like a little, you can put whatever shape you want, but a little bit in the middle of my forehead, my Cupid's bow, and my chin. And you'll notice that the places that I'm putting it are the places that I usually put highlighter whenever I'm using a highlighter as a finishing touch on my foundation routine. Some people add a little bit of brightness, a little bit more brightness to their under eye. I'll do that today. Sometimes I do that and sometimes I don't. What I really like to highlight is the inner part of my face. I don't really go too much on the outer perimeter of my face. Once I get this blended in and I start using the powders, I'll show you more what I mean about that. But in order to blend this out, I use the same little damp mini blender that I use to blend out my under eye. Tarte Shape Tape is kind of fast drying, so you may want to do one little section at a time. So I'm going to try to hurry and get this blended out before it dries. So if you look closely, I don't have it fully blended out. I'll keep on blending while I'm talking to you. But as you can see, the places that I have put the lighter concealer, those faces are kind of drawn forward. Those places on my face kind of emerge forward. And that's hence the term highlight. You're trying to like show where the sun would hit your face in essence. And you're using color, or in this case, kind of absence of color to show that. So once I have everything on where I want it, I want to set it. And just in the areas that I put the highlighter, and I use the Laura Mercier Secret Brightening Powder for this. And I continue to use my damp sponge. At first I'm going to set my under eye. And then I'm going to do the same thing with the areas that anywhere I put the lighter highlighter, I'm going to go with my powder there to set those. And this Secret Brightening Powder is sort of a lighter, kind of has a lightening effect, brightening effect, and so that's why I use it on the places that I'm trying to highlight. So basically my highlighting part is done for now. From here I'm going to go in with my damp sponge that I used to put on my foundation and Laura Mercier translucent powder, and I'm just going to use this to set the rest of my face. As a final step here, I usually take a big fluffy brush and whatever's left in the cap and just kind of go all over with this powder just to blend everything in nicely and make sure everything is set. You for sure don't want to start any powder contour without your face being set, because the powdery surface of a set face is going to be a lot easier to blend upon than a tacky one. With a tacky base, you would end up having areas where wherever you put that contour shade, it may grab onto the tacky foundation and not make it possible for you to blend it out as well as you'd like. So I like to start the powder contour with a powdered face. Today I'm going to use for the contour, I haven't used this in a long time actually. I've had it quite a bit. It's a Lorac Pro, but it's a Pro contour set. There's all kinds of things you could use. There's some that are very inexpensive. I'll show you one here in a minute from Wet n Wild that's really inexpensive. But I have this one. A lot of people have the Kat Von D Shade and Light. I don't have it. A lot of people have the Anastasia Contour Kit. I don't have it either. Basically because I didn't feel like I needed to spend a lot of money on something that I don't use very often. Like I said, I'm doing this video to kind of give you the premise behind it and some tips for beginners, basically. And for my own personal use, I really do things in a subtle way, and I usually just kind of do it very lightly, and you wouldn't really know that I've done it, but it does have an effect on the way that my face looks. So I do enjoy the effects of contouring and highlighting. I just don't take it to the extreme on most days. Okay, while I went and rounded up the products that I wanted to show you, I also went ahead and rounded myself up some eyebrows. When it comes to my foundational work, I have a really hard time gauging where things go and how things should look unless my eyebrows are on. So those always come first. But first I wanted to show you a couple of brushes that I use. I also wanted to show you some products that I have that I use sometimes. There are kind of two basic brushes that I use for the powder contour, which is in general around my hairline, my cheekbones, and my jawline. You can use something really small like this. This is called a Y10, and you can go right, if you suck in your cheeks, like make a little fish face, you can see where the hollow of your cheek is, and that's where your contour goes. If you can see that line right there. And so basically what you would do is take your darker contour color and place it right here, and then go in circular motions with this to blend it out. Another one, if I didn't say so, this is a Morphe Y10. Another one, this doesn't have a name on it, so it came from a various set, but it's an angled what they ordinarily call a contour brush or a blush brush. And the reason that this is a good one is you can put that right at the corner of your ear and go downward with this, and it kind of deposits color and blends it out at the same time. I prefer this for the most part. I also sometimes use this Real Techniques, it's called a multitasking brush, and it's kind of big, and I use it for bronzer, but in order to kind of contour and bronze at the same time, I'll pinch this to make it more narrow and dense, and I'll use that just to put on a little bit of contour to make that one area a little bit darker than the rest. I'll do the same thing around my hairline with this, and then I kind of bronze and contour at the same time. Some people don't know the difference between bronzing and contouring. Contouring is going to be a darker, more cool toned color. The purpose of it is to put a shadow on your face so that it appears to be drawn in. And so let me just show you the products real quick. Here's a really good one. I think it's about $3 from Wet n Wild. It's called ColorCon Contouring Palette. And on one side it says Highlight Illuminator, this side, and Contour on this side. Well, I'm not going to open this because it's brand new, and I'll probably end up giving it away before too long. But these are both matte powders, and so this would be what you would have set all your the area that I had put the concealer. That's what you would have used to set that and your under eye, and then this you would use to contour. And there's two different shades of this, I believe. This one is this one is called Caramel Toffee. There's another one that has a different skin tone. But for your contour, you're going to want something that's more cool and less warm. And so another good bronzer that you may already have for contouring is the Too Faced Chocolate Soleil, because it is a bronzer, but it's also kind of a cooler tone. I use most of the time Physician's Formula Butter Bronzer. So if you can kind of see the difference between these two, I don't know if it'll show well on camera, but this one is much cooler. This one is much warmer. And so you're going to use a cooler toned product for your contour and a warmer toned product for your bronzer. Bronzer is to warm up your face. Contour is to sculpt your face. Now, if you have some kind of contour palette, it's going to offer you lots of different options for contour colors. You can mix them together or whatever in order to find the shade that's right for you. This has medium contour, deep contour, light contour, and these are various shades. There's a yellow highlight that people often use the yellow highlights under their eyes. There's a beige highlight, which is kind of a more neutral tone, and then there is an actual shimmer in here. It's not very shimmery, but it is a shimmer. In general, I kind of stick to the light or medium because like I said, I like it to be a little bit more subtle. Today, for the sake of you being able to see where I'm placing the contour, I'm going to use the medium contour and blend it out quite a bit. But I'm going to do my contour first, and then I'm going to bronze afterwards. I generally use the brush and the bronzer to continue to blend out what I have already put down for the contour. So I think I'm going to use both of these brushes to kind of show you how I use them. With the smaller one, I'm going to tap into the medium. Lorac is very pigmented and very soft, and so I'm going to tap off my brush. The best thing to do is to go in very slowly and lightly and build it up, because you don't want to start with a big stark line that you're going to be blending for the next 2 years. So you just suck in your cheeks like you're making a fish face. Start right at the base of your ear where the hollow of your cheek is, and pull down. I pull down probably about halfway. You don't want to go from, if you're cutting this area in half, you don't want to go beyond the halfway point closer to your mouth, because that starts to make you kind of look like a puppet, and we don't want that. So if you can see that line, I'm doing it a little bit starker than I ordinarily would, but I've placed it, but now I'm going to blend it out. I don't want that to be a harsh line. I want it to be a very blended line. And these are not that great for blending, so sometimes I'll place the product with this, and then I'll go in with this afterward and blend it out. or that multitask brush. And I'll also blend it out with when I'm bronzing. I'm going to do that again on the other side. Don't worry, it looks a little crazy right now, but I'll blend it out more. I'm also going to use this on my jawline, just going from the bottom of my ear all the way down my jawline, right on my jawline. See what I did right there? Don't do that. I forgot to tap it off, so I put a lot more than I needed. But like I said, I'll blend these out. I'm going to look like I have a Superman-sized jawline today. All right. If you have a broad forehead like me and you want to give the illusion of a smaller forehead, if you go around your hairline with the contour, and I kind of like literally go right into my actual hairline, just around the edges of your forehead, down into your temple area, it will give you the illusion of a smaller forehead. We want to. And so now I've got everything placed as far as the contour is concerned, and it's looking pretty harsh because I was using a darker color than I ordinarily do and placing a little bit more than I ordinarily do for the sake of you being able to see it. But to kind of correct for that, since I am actually going somewhere today, I'm going to take my butter bronzer with my multitask brush and bronze the rest of my face, but also use this as a way to blend out the contour. And I also use bronzer in this brush to do a mini contour on my nose. At this point, I pinch my brush and I just go down the sides of my nose. And since we already had the light color in the middle of our nose, like my nose is kind of round and bulby, and I like it to look a little bit more straight. And so I just contour the sides and right there across my nostril. And that gives the illusion of a less bulby nose. There's lots of great videos that you can go watch. Wayne Goss has an excellent one that shows you how to contour your nose based on what your nose shape is. So you could check that out. So now that I have all that on, I go back with the brush that I used to just kind of blend everything together. And I use that just to kind of do an overall blend. And it has a little tiny bit of translucent powder left on it from before, and so that kind of chills out the contour. Not entirely, but some. And it looks a lot more harsh on the camera than it does in real life, so I'm not going to go out looking crazy. Okay, now we're going to get into the highlight part, the powder highlight part. And there's all kinds of different products you can use for this. I happen to really like highlights, and so I happen to have many. I've got some powder highlights like this Artist Couture one. I've got Ofra Rodeo Drive, which is a in a pan. I'm trying to find my Mary LouManizer. Here she is. This is a really a cult classic product that almost everybody knows, Mary LouManizer. Unfortunately, when I was at my niece's wedding, this got knocked off the table, so poor Mary got broken. I have to be real careful when using it, but I am going to use it today because it's beautiful and it'll be easy for me to show you. As far as highlight is concerned, I generally use two different kinds of brushes. I use a really big fan brush. This is the Morphe M143, or what is actually called a highlighting brush. This is a Morphe M501. And sometimes I'll go in with this to really place it and go over with this to blend it out. But in general, the places that I put highlight, except for right here, are the places that I already put the highlight, the cream highlight with the concealer. So I'm going to go in with this. I'm going to put it on there pretty heavy and then tap into there. And first I'm going to go on the high points of my cheeks. And I'm not going to pull down too far because I have a little bit of texture right here. And so I try to keep my highlight right on the upper part of my cheek. So I place it here, go around in circles. Some people do it like this. To me, that gives a real straight line that I don't necessarily love. So I usually just go around in circles. I also go up around and kind of make a C around my eye. I like a little bit right here above my eyebrow. Go on the tip of my nose and right on the bridge of my nose. So if you imagine anywhere that the sun would hit your face, that's where you want to put it. Your Cupid's bow, right on the top of your lip, on your chin right here. So basically all the higher points of your face that the sun would hit if the sun was shining on you, that's where you're going to put the powder highlight. You don't have to use a shimmer highlight for this. I love the way it looks. I love to be highlighted where it just really shows, and when the sun hits it, it's obvious that I'm highlighted. But if you don't like that and you want it a little bit more subtle, you could use a powder like this in the contour palettes, something like this, these two to set it or to highlight it, and it just brings some more light to it, but it's not shimmery. But I like this shimmery. And so after I have that all placed, I'll go back in and I'll put just a little bit of this on the top of my brush, and then I'll go in and just kind of go over all the areas that I just put it, and just use this really nice fluffy brush to kind of diffuse it a little bit. At this point, I go ahead and take another angled blush brush. This is a Morphe, but again, it doesn't have a number on it. And I'm going to go in with Dazzled by Tarte to finish up the foundational part of my makeup look here. I kind of put my blush in between my contour and my highlight. That's what we have here. Again, as a final step, you'll see that I blend on almost everything I do. I blend in between every step. So now I'm going to go back with this, and it doesn't really have any product left on it. And I'm just going to, again, blend everything together. And a lot of times after that, I'll go back in with my highlight just here so that I can make sure that it's really intense. If I turn my lights up, you could see I don't want to mess up the lighting, or I would show you. But as you can see, just from this angle, you can see that I have my jaw mapped out. I have my cheekbone chiseled out, and my eyebrows are contouring my face, but I also have all the lightness on the inner part of my face. There you can see the highlight. But that's basically what I do for contour and highlight. I'm searching for, and this is not a necessary step, but I do it every time just because I like to set everything before I move on to my eyes and whatever else I'm going to be doing. So I use a more inexpensive spray on this step, and I'll use just for the sake of setting it, and I'll use a more expensive spray as a finisher whenever I really want to lock in my makeup so that it will stay all day. So this is e.l.f. Mist and Set. And that just kind of takes away the powderiness, the powdery look of it, and just kind of helps it sink into your face and look more like skin and less like a matte powder. So that's how I do contouring and highlighting. It's very simple, and there are way more complex ways to do this. But for me, that's something that's really fast and easy and workable. And so that's what I do on a daily basis, and sometimes even more subtle than this. Like I said, I went in a little heavy, so for the sake of you being able to see it on the camera. But you can play around with it, use various shades and various amounts of intensity, and find out what you like for yourself. But in general, it's very simple. What you want to recede, you put a dark color on. What you want to stand out, you put a light or a light and shimmery color on. And that's the premise of contouring and highlighting. It's very simple. So hopefully this has been helpful to you, and I hope you enjoyed it. I'll come back after I'm actually completely done. And this is what it looks like with the highlighting contour with everything else going on. It's pretty subtle, but you can still see that my cheekbones and my jawline and my forehead are sculpted. You can still see some of the shimmer and pretty highlighted of the inner area of my face. So that's how I do the contour and highlighting, and I hope this has been helpful for you. If you have any questions, make sure and put them down in the comment section. I'll be glad to give you an answer, at least from my own experience. Thank you so much for being here today. I appreciate your time, and I hope that if you've enjoyed the video or found it helpful, that you will give me a thumbs up and subscribe before you leave. But until next time, guys, take care and God bless. Bye.